Want healthy chickens and strong eggs, not like these little toothpicks? There's a simple way to improve your chances. We're diving into grit and oyster shell as flock must-haves. As you probably noticed, one of the things we love to do is answer questions from our amazing viewers. So we have one from Ben Arisman. He says, I love the new content and format.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that is nice. Thank you. We'll just stop right there. On the subject of chickens, in a previous video on the old channel, you, Steve, I believe, talked about liming eggs. I find myself developing a surplus of unwashed, clean eggs and was thinking about preserving them for winter. Could you gentlemen cover the process of liming eggs again? Thanks. And thanks for calling us gentlemen. That was nice.
I know. Yeah. We're not used to that.
No, definitely not.
So yes, we did cover this in a video on our old channel, and really it probably doesn't take a whole video to cover the process of liming, also known as water glassing. It's a pretty easy process. You want to hit them with it, Steve?
Yeah, you're looking for your pick lime, hydrated lime. Goes with calcium hydroxide is the chemical you're looking for. Yeah. It comes in a food grade and a non-food grade. The same thing. It's just the food grade has been processed to remove impurities, which you don't want, right? Because they're going to use this stuff in concrete too. It helps concrete.
Get the food grade.
They use it out in fields to work with pH because it's very basic, right? It's like 12.4 on the scale. So make sure you're sourcing the right thing. But the way it works is pretty awesome. When you put that in water, this calcium hydroxide, it interacts with carbon dioxide and forms calcium carbonate, which if you read up on eggshells, what are they made of? Calcium carbonate. It basically, working with the bloom, it forms basically a shell around that egg and seals off those pores, so it really slows down that process of that air exchange and things getting in and out of that egg. The other thing is, it's just like when you pickle your cabbage and get sauerkraut or whatever, you keep it in that brine because it's so acidic that bacteria and fungus and viruses can't live there. This is the same thing, just on the other end. You're keeping in that brine, but it's very basic. It's like 12.4, like I say. So bacteria, viruses, funguses can't live there. And so it provides a safe space for those eggs to do that. As far as putting it together, I'll let you walk through that process.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. It's 1 ounce of that pickling lime per quart of water. Once you have that mix made up, you just put it in a jar or other container that you can seal
safe,
up.
Not metal, glass, or
food safe, certainly. Yep. And submerge the eggs so they're fully covered in that solution. Seal it up and put that container in a cool, dark place. And now your eggs are going to last for probably a year or more. Yeah.
You can't wash the bloom off them. They don't wash them. But then you store them up, and then you can use them all winter long until your chickens start laying again in the spring.
So yeah.
Fantastic question.
Mix your lime and water. Don't wash your eggs. Submerge the eggs. Put it in a cool, dark place.
Yep.
Yeah, great tip. I think a lot of people should do that one.
When you pull them out, I always like to rinse them off.
Yeah.
You just don't throw the whole thing in your mouth.
Show and all.
All right, let's move on to why do chickens need grit? Why?
To put up with life's challenges. The same reason you need grit.
I don't have a lot of grit. I'm pretty wimpy.
This guy has no grit.
That's the way chickens' bodies are designed to work, right? They don't have teeth. Darn it, so they don't get to chew. That happens in the gizzard. They've got some muscles down there that grind the food. They'll swallow that grit. That gives them another surface, another hard surface in there to help grind up those seeds and bits of food so their body can properly digest it and get the nutrients from it.
Yeah, and it really is important to use that grit if it's free-ranging chickens, so they're foraging for their feed and finding what's available, or if you're using something other than a pellet or a mash, that grit becomes really essential for like the treats you're giving them, seeds, things like that. And it's going to prevent them from getting a problem we call an impacted crop. That's when they're unable to grind up all that feed in the gizzard, and that stuff starts to build up in their crop, and it can be a health issue.
Yeah, when they go out there and they're picking at that grass or whatever, that's great, and there's some nutrients there. But there's also a lot of cellulose and stuff, and they get a bunch of that jammed in their crop that they can't break down. Then yeah, it causes problems. Same thing with seeds and that kind of stuff. So that's just a tool that helps them get that food broken down, so they can continue on down the stomach and then get the nutrients from it that they need.
All right, so apparently chickens need grit. What types of grit are the best?
Well, you want something that's small enough, so small pebbles or coarse sand, and it has to be insoluble, so it doesn't just dissolve, in liquid when they consume it. So things like granite or flint, if it's broken up into fine pebbles, it's really durable and effective for them.
So no pop rocks?
I would avoid the pop rocks with the chickens, yeah. And I would also avoid fine sand, like playground sand, that it can clump up and just clog up the gizzard. So
Yeah, and size is important. You can start offering grit even to young chicks. If you're going to put them on something other than a finely ground mash or something, you're going to have some grains or something in there. You need to offer grit as well.
Right.
But they're going to need something smaller, and then as your hands get larger, you can buy. Grit's one of those things that's easy to sort. I mean, it's like, why am I going to buy rocks? Rocks are free, right? And I did that for a number of years, but at my place, I mostly have sand, and a lot of it's fine. So I just got to the point, it's like, I'm just going to buy a 25-pound bag of granite, and it lasts me for a couple of years or whatever, and it's fine. But yeah, size is going to play a role in that.
All right. How about oyster shell? Important? Not important? Needed?
yeah, if you've got laying hens, I would say it's important. It's going to help provide the extra calcium that they need to build strong eggshells. So it's going to prevent having those thin or soft shells that are a bad sign for you.
Calcium's important, right? And your laying mash is going to be fortified with calcium, but not necessarily all the calcium, because the other part of that is a lot of people have a flock, right? I might have a rooster, I might have some younger hens, they're all eating that same laying mash. Well, too much calcium can cause problems in those birds, kidney problems, like I said. So there's not oodles and oodles of calcium in that laying mash. There's sufficient, but sometimes it's nice to have that oyster shell there. That way, if the hen needs a little more, she can go get it, but the roosters and everybody else don't have to also eat that extra calcium. It's a way to supplement. For those that need it, they'll go get it, and those that don't, leave it alone. And so I can kind of up the calcium in my diet by providing that oyster shell in addition to my laying mash.
And for a laying hen, if there's some sort of calcium deficiency because they don't have an additional calcium in their diet, they're going to start pulling that calcium from their bones. And so it's going to cause other health issues. They're going to have less longevity, things like that. So you really want to make sure they got enough calcium, and oyster shell's a great way to do it.
Yeah, and it's cheap. It's not that expensive.
And if you don't have access to it, crushed limestone.
Yep.
That's another option that you can put out there instead of oyster shell, and it's usually a little cheaper.
All right. So how do you provide these or provide grit and oyster shell to your chickens?
I like to do it free choice. So in my run, I've got the little feeders for rabbits.
Yep.
You fill it at the top and it comes out the bottom, and as they eat it, it falls out. You can buy them for like $5 or $6 or whatever at the farm store. I have one of those for grit and one of those for oyster shell, and they just sit there, and as I notice they're low, I fill them back up, and no problem. That way, if they decide they need grit or oyster shell, they can just go get it. It's there all the time. If they don't, it just sits there. It doesn't.
Yeah. So for the oyster shell, I have a little small feeder that I just put the oyster shell in. The grit, usually I just throw it out in their run.
It's another way to do it.
And they're going to find it as they're scratching around in the run. Yeah.
So the chickens will self-regulate. They just won't go crazy.
Yeah,
with it?
for the most part, they do. I find sometimes they like to play with the grit. They'll get it scattered everywhere. Maybe because they like to eat up. They're like, I ain't down to the dish. This comes off the ground. It's a rock. But I don't have a problem with that.
All right.
Yeah, you do want to keep an eye on those containers, though. If it is getting low, you don't want them to run out and go for a couple days without, and then you fill it, and then do it again and again. So you want to have a consistent amount. if they need grit, there needs to be grit available there. If they need oyster shell, it needs to be available there.
And again, if you're free ranging your birds, they need grit.
For sure.
Now they might be finding that as they free range, depending on what type of soil you have, but they may not, depending on what type of soil you have. So it's an easy way to just provide that, and that's going to help avoid those problems we talked about earlier, like impacted crop or sour crop, those types of things.
So can you make mistakes providing grit and oyster shell? Things you should avoid?
Yeah, I think one of the things that people often do, and I used to do this for a while, that's probably not a good idea, is to mix it in with the feed. So if you mix the grit in with the feed, it's kind of going to dilute its effectiveness. It's going to settle to the bottom. It's going to have the feed on top, and it's going to make it so that it's not readily available to them. When it comes to the oyster shell, if I mix that in with the feed, then my rooster and the younger ones that aren't laying yet, they're going to be getting some of that calcium. And like Steve mentioned, if they're not a laying hen and they get too much calcium, it can cause kidney problems. So I wouldn't mix it in with their feed.
And the biggest mistake I think is the one I initially made when I first said you can just assume grit they're gonna find on their own.
Right.
They'll find rocks. They'll find and maybe they will, but why take that chance? I can spend $8 or whatever, and then I know I'm taken care of. Don't assume that they're just gonna find it. If you live in sand or clay or whatever, there may not be appropriately sized grit that's readily available for the entire flock, given their space. So just provide it.
All right. Well, I hope my Bengals have a lot of grit this year.
Good luck with that.
Right up until week 17, baby. Just like the last 30 years.
I'm used to it. But that's a good way to keep your chickens healthy. Oyster shell and grit. If you guys have any tips, comments on that, we'd love to see them. Just put them below. And if you haven't already and you'd like to join our family, I mean, who wouldn't?
Right?
You can subscribe. We'd love to have you. Thank all of you who are already subscribed, and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. And as always,
Keep on hobby farming.
What Brian said.